Hey everyone. So I wanted to do a quick update for you guys. Today is February the 15th, 2016. And as of this morning, I started a Minicut phase. So I've basically worked my way up to 170 pounds. I'm just about 6 months post-show. So typically I won't recommend anyone doing any sort of formal fat loss phase within 6 months after a competition, just because I think that that's more or less around the time that it takes for everything to sort of re-equilibrate, for testosterone to get back to normal, for energy levels, mood, hunger, and everything to sort of settle into place, at least from my experience and from the very limited data that we do have. In my case, I actually did start to feel normal after probably about a month or maybe two. After 2 months, I was, setting PRs in the gym, and I was basically had less appetite than I would normally expect. So I feel like how good you feel and how quickly you sort of return to normal might be dictated by how fast you're willing to gain weight and to gain fat. And in my case, I was willing to put on the fat as fast as I wanted to. And then when I got to the point where I felt like I was at my set point, I had the wherewithal and I had the restraint to just simply hold it there. So I knew how much I could get away with eating, and I was careful not to push that too far. But at this point, I think that I've reached that sort of upper limit of where I'd like to be in my off season in terms of body fat. And so, I would like to drop down probably 10 pounds or so. What I'm going to be doing over the next probably 6 to 8 weeks is aiming to lose about 1 to 1.5 pounds per week. So where I'd like to end up is around 160 pounds. And my main reason for doing this, one, I think it would be smart for me to stay a little bit closer to my competition weight. At this point in my training career, I'm not going to be making massive strides in terms of building new muscle tissue. So I think that for me as a competitive bodybuilder, the smartest thing to do is really focus on nailing my conditioning and making progress at a lighter body weight. Furthermore, I think that the best I ever actually looked in my off season, in terms of just walking around, was in late 2013, right before I began my prep for the Muscle Mayhem. And this was at the end of a reverse diet, which followed a mini cut. So I did cut for a couple of months. At the end of my cut, I was on something like 2,600 calories per day. And at that point, I began a reverse diet. And over the course of 3 or 4 months, I was able to get my calories from 2,600 all the way up to 3,600. And as many of you guys probably know, I'm typically not a big advocate of reverse dieting, much less slow and prolonged reverse dieting. But typically, this criticism from me comes within the context of a post-show reverse diet. So for people who are just trying to, say, get lean for a photo shoot, which I plan on doing in the near future, or for someone who just wants to get beach lean or whatever, I think that doing a reverse diet is a really good way to increase your food intake and sort of fill out your physique while maintaining the level of leanness. And I think that provided that caloric intake doesn't get excessively low and you're not experiencing the hormonal changes and drastic changes in mood and hunger and that sort of stuff that tends to go alongside with a contest prep, then I think that a reverse diet can absolutely be the most applicable thing in a situation. I just want to talk briefly about what I believe it is that allowed me to get my calories up by 1,000 calories per day, physiologically speaking. So I think that there are probably 4 main factors that were contributing to this increase in energy intake without gaining any weight. The first one would be increased exercise activity thermogenesis. So increased EAT. So essentially this just means I've got more food coming in. I just tend to push myself harder in the training sessions and expend more energy that way. The second would be increased NEAT, which stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is essentially anything that involves energy expenditure that doesn't have to do with digesting your food, sleeping, or actual formal exercise. So things like fidgeting, walking around a little bit faster, just having a little bit more energy throughout the day and moving around a little bit more. And this is probably the main factor. When you see people who have largely successful reverse diets in terms of drastically increasing their energy intake, I think that most of that increase in intake can be attributed to an increase in output in the form of NEAT. The third factor would be potential hormonal changes. So things like increasing testosterone, increasing thyroid hormone, decreasing cortisol. I don't think that these account for as much as some people might like to think, but it certainly could go along with the other factors. Fourth would have to do with an increase in muscle mass. So when you are training harder and you're eating more, it seems plausible that I could have actually gained some lean tissue, and so that is more metabolically active tissue. So even though it may not be quite as metabolically active as some people would have you believe, it nonetheless does burn calories. So if I did add muscle mass, that could be sort of like a smaller fourth factor that could be contributing. So yeah, I'm not going to be tracking macros, at least not to start off. I just find that can be a major time suck for me. So I have a really good idea of what I'm taking in terms of macronutrients and micronutrients. And so I'm just going to be basically following more of a set structure with a focus on whole foods, foods high in fiber, lean foods. I'm really going to try to limit my fat intake to kick things off. And then to be my main guide, I'm just going to pay attention to the scale, so to my body weight. And if it starts to get ahead of me in the sense that I'm losing a little bit too fast, then I'll simply increase my food intake a little bit. And if it's being a little bit slow, then I'll start paying more attention to where my calories are coming from. And so then at the end of the cut, what I'll probably do is start tracking a little bit more meticulously and then try to reverse diet again so that I can fill out my physique. So guys, that's the basic update from me. I had a few friends visit from Newfoundland. So Phil Snellgrove and his girlfriend, Jess Best, were in town for a few days. Both of these people I'm actually prepping for a competition in May. And they're just both incredible athletes. I think Phil is probably one of the best amateur natural bodybuilders in Canada. He just has an outstanding physique, and the same thing goes for Jess. She has literally probably the best back development that I've seen on a natural female. It's really incredible. So we went and demolished a leg workout with my friend from Halifax here, Patty Lifts, who is a guy that I'm prepping for the Natural Muscle Mayhem in California. And I actually make frequent appearances on his channel. We basically do weekly updates, so coaching updates from me in terms of changes to macros, changes to cardio. We dive into some of the details of his training program and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys would like to see more from me or more from my sort of in-depth coaching perspective, then I'd recommend checking out his channel and subscribing so that you can follow along with our journey, more specifically his journey to the stage. I'm going to roll the clip from the leg workout. Shout out to my brother for this awesome edit, and I hope that you guys enjoy.